Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. This is a show where I try to educate you about the criminal justice system. I'm delighted to say I've been doing this since 2011. I have a lot of people that watch it. It's a story about redemption. It's a story about incarceration, people's journeys. And I have to say, I'm fascinated by people's stories. Sometimes my viewers will say, why don't you talk a little bit more? But I am just as fascinated about the story as you are. So tonight I have my co-host, Danny Sneed.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Danny
Danny
is the encourager. Danny is there to encourage us. As you know, he has done 3 trips to the penitentiary, but he's one of the formerly incarcerated that has been done just amazing things since he's been out, has a family, has a beautiful home, has a great job, but it hadn't been easy. Danny worked really hard to get there. He worked really hard, like harder than anybody I've ever really known. And so, Danny, I always have to uplift you on that because it's a lot of people that's never been to prison that hasn't worked as hard as you are. Thank you for working so hard at our church. And that brings us to our guest tonight, Johan Alvarez. So Danny met Johan this week or last week?
Yeah,
this
week.
A couple of weeks ago at Path to Freedom. We're in person again at St. John's United Methodist Church downtown at 2019 Crawford, where Danny leads a group that encourages and helps people who are formerly incarcerated find their way, help them with their journey, recruits people formerly incarcerated to help those recently released from prison, to help them with all the pitfalls to try to stop the recidivism and the going back and forth. Now, we've learned that a lot of people go back and forth a few times before they get tired, but we're a place you can come to at the Path to Freedom at St. John's United Methodist Church when you get tired. Okay, and even if you mess up and go back, you can still come back because we are there with our loving arms. So we're just going to get started tonight with Johan. So Johan, thank you for coming at the last minute tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay.
And I know you might be nervous, but just your story will encourage someone.
I hope so.
Beginning with me.
Cool.
So tell me about you. Where were you born?
I was born in El Salvador.
And how long have you been in the States?
Since I was 3 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been here. Where were you raised mainly?
I was raised in Queens, New York, Flushing. That's where I grew up, and that's where it all started.
So did you start getting involved with criminal activity in middle school or high school or post school?
Criminal activity pretty much started, I don't know, young. I started, just when you're a kid, you still gum, stuff like that. Your mom slaps you in the wrist, like that. So it was like innate. If I wanted, I saw it, I wanted. I took it. I don't know why. It's just me. That was what, there you go, about the personality. But my mom told me right from wrong, and I knew it was wrong, and we stopped. But unfortunately, in the beginning, my father passed away when I was 8, so a lot of strain on the family. Mom being a single mom with 3 kids and a whole lot of responsibility. She didn't even know English at the time, so it got difficult. And we all try to, we were like 8, 9 years old. We try to do our best to be good, so we stay out of her way and do it like that. She was a very Christian lady, went to church her whole life. She dragged us along all the time. So those seeds always been put in me. But when my father died, it changed me as well. Yeah. People don't see that in children, or they don't see it earlier, or they going through their own grief and they kind of forget that the child going through the grief too.
Absolutely.
They feel like children can accept more or bounce back is easier. It's not quite as well.
And some children feel like it's their fault that their parent died.
Indeed. Indeed.
So I lost a parent young, so I understand.
Yeah. So in that and
nobody understands that except you and the people, because most people, at least when I was growing up, and I'm older than you, their parents were still around. Or their grandmothers, or somebody was raising them. But when you actually, are there and somebody dies, I mean, it affects you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, they're never there for the rest of life. Give you guidance to give
you guidance.
And it stings every single time you see some parents or somebody else's father playing with their kids. So you're like, what can you do
Why
about
did God
it?
do this to me?
See, that's where my downfall started. Because like I said, I was raised in God. I believed in God. I was a drummer boy in my church for a while.
All right.
And I was only like young. I wanted to be a preacher when I was like 8, 9. But when my father died, those questions couldn't be answered for me. Why? All that stuff that young people want to know, and why God would do that as such a good person, And those questions, when they go unanswered or nothing satisfies that question, you start creating stuff.
Sure.
You know, like God, there's no God. You know, He's evil. They all lied to me.
Right.
You know, so you start double thinking what you was taught, because you have no way to.
Process.
Your mind is so young, it doesn't
you don't know how
have
to
the
process
ability
it.
to process death and life in a mature level. So it just is emotional. The whole thing is emotional. So I went in anger rage. Anger rage. I felt like that's the only way I could feel power or in control anymore, because as we know that you can't control nothing.
Right.
So I got into that forced solution through friends and hanging out on the street, you know, lost track of my mom. School wasn't good no more and stuff like that. Things went downhill for me. And
So
you know,
you were like in middle school, like 12?
No, I was, once I got in elementary school, I started fighting. As soon as my father died, I was in the first fight that year. You know, just a lot of anger, not unasked questions. And that's where it all really began. By the time I was 11 years old, tried my first joint, 12, first beer, and so on and so on. I just started doing crime at 13. All types of crimes, all types of difficult things. And it was just to feel powerful, to feel like I'm in control of my life. God don't have control of my life. If I die, I'm going to die my way, not His way. Not knowing that He has a plan for you anyway, and the devil as well. But in my mind, you know, in my young mind, these people that get respect in the streets, they criminals and they hardened people that don't care about life. But you see other people respecting them, even though it was fear. I was confused it for respect at my young age.
Right.
You know, because I respected the fact that these people didn't say sorry to nobody. They didn't care about nobody's feeling. They did what they want, and that's it.
Right.
I wanted to be like that. I wanted to feel that full sense of power. Because the reality is, when the cops came, they ran. Nobody stand tall like a man. They ran. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference with power. I didn't understand the different degrees of power in my life when I was young.
Right.
You know, that was a criminal subculture. So you find in subcultures that you find identity. So in identity you find power. Right. You know what I mean? So I was finding my identity with the same people that went through the same things in my neighborhood that me. They lost their parents young and all this stuff. And I saw that they found that power, that sense of pride, that sense of false pride, but it's pride indeed. And they passed it on. I remember the first time I went to prison, I went to jail, not even prison, I went to jail, I was 13 for fighting an officer. Man, I got so much pride, the whole neighborhood, oh, you the man, and you know, they filled you up with like, oh, snap. Maybe I should beat up another cop.
Wow.
You know, it's a confusing thing to be praised for bad.
How did you get involved at 13 with fighting a cop? Was he trying to arrest
I was at a
you?
party. They broke in. It was, you know, it was just a party, and we was drinking, having fun. It was like 30 people in there. I think the neighbors called the police for disturbance. They went up in there, the cops was very brutal in New York.
Right.
I don't know how they are out here, but in New York, you know, they tell you one time, next time it's a billy stick, so they ain't playing. But that night, that specific night, was just a party, and they told everybody to get down, and then they just started roughing us up. I don't know if somebody started to fight with them or nothing, but they just started. One grabbed me by the neck, and I just swung, because that's what it does. Somebody touches you, you swing. That was the rules of my life. So we ended up in a tussle, then there was 5 of them, and they beat me up, and then we just went, you know, went from there. And I was young, so they had to let me go. They was like, oh my God, you're 13, They was more fearful, because I didn't know I had a lawsuit at that time, and they billy clubbed me and everything, but they was like, oh, you're 13, okay, we're just gonna call your mom, act like nothing happened.
Give you a couple Band-Aids, couple times.
Yeah, you know, just don't be there at parties no more. How are you going to tell a 13-year-old not to be at a party no more? Right. I didn't know the cops would go, but they just grab it in the, you know, but. Right. Make a long story short, that was the first time I ever got arrested.
So when did you get arrested for something serious?
I think that was junior high school. I wouldn't go into the details, but it was like an assault, and there was weapons involved and stuff like that. I was like 14, got probation and stuff like that. 6 months. I went to Spofford. You know what Spofford is?
No.
It's a junior, it's like a Tryon. It's in the Bronx, New York. It's a prison for kids.
Baby prison. Baby prison.
It's right before you go to Rikers Island.
Rikers, okay. Now, we know about Rikers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we know about Rikers.
Stuff like that, you know. So I was introduced to all that life very early, and it didn't bother me because everybody was praising me for it.
Wow.
In my neighborhood, so I was like, the more I got praised, the more badder I became. And the less respectful I was in my house, because I was like, there's no power here. You're just following somebody else's belief and fate. It's not your own mind.
Did you think you needed to be in a gang, or were you doing this on
No,
your,
I hate gangs.
yourself?
I do not like gangs.
Oh, you're not a gang guy?
One thing my father taught me before he died was a man stands alone. You don't want to, but you're able to.
Right.
If everybody else fails you, you can't fail yourself.
There had to be a lot of peer pressure to join gangs, though, right?
Oh yes, Mara Salvatrucha. I mean, later on, Mara Salvatrucha, Nietas back in those days, Latin Kings, Bloods, Crips. I had that personality where I fit into anybody, like not anybody, but anywhere and in any groups. I had gay people trying to recruit me. No, come on. But it's like I've always been open to everybody.
Right.
Because I was never been afraid, and that was like a part of the problem. I never had fear. I never had a healthy response to things. Because if you scared me, I'm gonna attack you. So I never took a second thought to think, why am I scared of this thing or person? All I knew was attack it, kill it, do what you gotta do, as long as it doesn't hurt you. That was just
the way
there wasn't no logic, no wisdom, no understanding to it. It was just basic survival.
Wow. So when was the first time you actually went to prison?
I can't remember that one.
18,
So
19?
you said, 18, 13?
No, I was like, I think I violated probation at 15. Well, the first time I've been
Did
to
you have to
prison,
go to the juvenile prison?
I went to, my mom moved us from New York to Long Island, and then she thought it'd be better because Long Island is not quite like the city, but Long Island has its own set of rules because it's like urban. It's
Right.
It's not tropical, much tropical.
Right.
But still, so it's like going to LA or something, just
Different.
same people in houses, you know what I'm saying? So we went there, and it took not too long. I was a street kid. I didn't know what it is to stay in the house.
Right.
I'm going out. I'm gonna go venture out. I'm gonna go see the neighborhood. Again, I attracted the people that I attracted, and I barely was at home. Like all my youth, I was always outside, leaving at 3 in the morning. 3 in the afternoon, coming back at 3 in the morning type deal. So I was never in a good path at all. And then it got to the point where I just looked for people like identify with, which was criminals. So I didn't know what it was to be next to a Christian and talk good stuff. I didn't know what it was to be next to a businessman and talk business. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was to be a street person dealing with, drug dealers, stick-up kids, people like that. So that's who I grew up with. That's who always absorbed and gave me knowledge. I did meet a couple of good people who put me on a so-called path of knowledge, but like 5%ers and stuff like that. And I liked that one because it's more like a religious base. It wasn't like, gang, you got to shoot him because I told you. None of that. It was, okay, study, read, learn about yourself. That was my first, and that was in prison too. I learned about them in prison, in my days of prison. But those are the first steps I realized that I'm not dumb. I can think, and I can read, and I started reading so much, and then I just started being curious. With my curiosity that life can be different if I made it that way. I was a 5%er for like a lot of, but I never really agreed with
Now, what do you
everything.
mean by 5%er? What is a 5%er?
Food of Islam, Nation of Gods on Earth. I don't know if
Okay,
you
so
ever-
5%er is the Nation of Islam?
Well, not the Nation of Islam. It's just 5% is those it's righteous people that are trying
Righteous
to
people?
righteous people.
Is it a faction of the Islam?
Yeah, it's like you got the Food of Islam, you got
Okay.
Islam, then you got the Shiites, and you got the the other ones, and then you got 5%ers who believe that they are black man is the God on earth. You ever heard that phrase?
So it's the traditional, and then it's the...
To an extent, I think it came from Elijah Muhammad.
So you say it's the black man?
Yeah, the black man's God on earth because of his physical composition. It's made for this earth, for this planet. That's why they don't burn in the sun. There's all these other athletic things that they try to
So
say.
what I learned in prison from Islam is they count like Republicans and Democrats. They all...
So Sunnites, and go ahead.
Just be my own.
There you go.
I was trying to figure this out myself because I was raised Christian, and they would try to recruit me in to go to
Nation of Islam?
Yeah, try to sign up. But one group believed that a scientist made white people.
Yeah.
And so I at first I didn't knock it down. I was like, I'm gonna be open-minded, go ahead. Like, okay, what do you do? Made him in the lab. And then
That sounds crazy. I never heard that
but
before.
I tried to have an open mind. I didn't want to just...
Yeah, and I'm just saying.
Because people really believe that.
Yeah.
And so I was respecting that, okay. So then I met some, almost like, we don't follow that belief system. We don't believe that part. We believe this part.
But they all read the Quran, right?
Right, but it's interpreted. It's how you
That's
interpret.
It's like people interpret the Bible.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just the Eastern Bible, I guess you could say. Like, no, I mean, we got the Eastern Bible, they got the Western Bible. So they it's like the wars of Iran, Iraq. They each got their own, what is it, Sunnite and Sunni and the other
Right.
Muslims. So they got their own sectors. And
It's ideology.
It's all ideology, and it's based on where you live, pretty much, because
So which one were you following? You were doing the 5%ers.
I was with the 5%ers and like, cause I liked it. It wasn't like some of them used it as a gang thing. I didn't, cause I really didn't call nobody to defend me. I had to do what I had to do on my own. And like I tell anybody, you can just read it. It's all there. It's public information of what I've been through. I'm being honest. So there's no reason to lie when somebody could look up everything you did. So.
Yep, yeah, and people can look it up. So when you were in Long Island, you said you did, you started hanging out, but you still got in trouble there.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school real quick when I moved out there, like 3 months. The whole school tried to jump me. I don't know, they didn't like me. But, you know, things happen. So stuff like that kept happening to me in my life. Like I was liked by a lot of people, and then I was disliked by a lot of people. And but the people that disliked me, they was always worried about me because I was also dangerous in my youth. You know, as most people are when they living in the street or living that life.
Right.
So, well, I guess, you know, in that particular one guy didn't like me, spread a rumor about me, the whole school jumped me. I tried to. I got away. I was slick. But ain't gonna catch me on the corner.
We're glad you got away. We're glad you got away.
Yeah,
the whole school jumping, that's pretty bad.
Yeah,
you got to get away. You can't fight the whole school.
Yeah, he's a slippery guy, I guess. It was a scary moment. To tell you the truth, to see 60 people trying to charge you.
Right.
I felt like I was in the movie of Braveheart by myself. Gotta go.
Right.
So anyway, moving on. Stuff like that, just a lot of stuff like that happened to me in my life where I really didn't scare me. I was just like, well, okay, whatever. It happened.
Yeah, that'll make you quit school. So tell me, so did you spend any years in prison in New York?
Yeah, I did in and out of Riverhead facility. Mm-hmm. That's when I was really getting into I was like 15 years old. I really started doing a lot of hardcore crimes. But I always got, thank God, I could say, I got caught for lesser crimes, most of them. Car thefts, a lot of thieving because I was into money. So never drugs, never drug dealing, nothing like that. And, you know, just a lot of like ways to get scamming and stuff like that. Just trying to get through.
But how long did you have to stay in prison?
In and out. I think from 15 to 17, I was just doing 6 months here, 3 months there. I was just an in and out kind of guy for this and that. Unfortunately, I made the greatest mistake of my life at 17, where I took a life. So that one, they gave me 7 years, you know. And
but why only 7 years?
Oh, because there was circumstances behind it.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. My part was, they gave me that. And I was also a minor at the time, so they took that into consideration. And, you know, and they sent me up for that long time.
But that was in prison? That was in
I was
New
upstate.
York?
I was in New York, then I went down to downstate New York, which is the hub facility to where they're going to send you after that to up north. Up north, you could be anywhere in Nebraska, you know, all the upstate prisons, the major behind-the-wall prisons, you know. So by the time I got there, I did like maybe a year and a half in the court just trying to get my lawyer to give me the best deal he could. And in that, out of all those years, I did about 4 years solitary confinement because I was always in a fight. So, and you know, my mom used to tell me, God is taking care of you.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, he's driving me crazy. I'm in here by myself.
I know it. Tell me about that. At 17, you're in solitary confinement. How did that?
Man.
4 years in solitary.
Well, when I was in Riverhead, my mom used to cry all the time because they had me in cuffs and shackles for like a year and a half, and I was in the box in solitary confinement, detention. I was just an angry person.
Wait a minute, cuffs and shackles in a box by yourself. So why do they have to cuff and shackle you?
Oh, whenever I had
to bring you out.
Whenever I went out the cell, they had to cuff and shackle me because
Because of the fighting.
Yeah, because I was fighting.
Still angry. Yeah.
And I had a couple of assaults on CEOs themselves. So it was just not me, but other people. Any violent inmate would be in that circumstance. Okay. I'm just giving you a picture of what kind of person I was.
But mentally, how did you deal with?
I laughed.
Solitary.
Nah, at first it was funny. Oh, they
really? Now, why was it funny?
Because it's funny. I'm like, I ain't that dangerous. I mean, you don't.
Funny that they thought you were dangerous.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm talking about like your mental state just being in there. I don't know if you can reach back in your mind.
I'm like,
how did you deal with it mentally?
Mentally, at first, I was kind of welcoming.
Just to be alone and get.
I was never alone. Even in my outside life or in prison, you're never alone. So it was kind of welcoming. Like, it was weird, but it was welcoming. Like I could finally rest. Like I ain't got to worry about nobody around me and nothing. So just go to sleep.
Okay.
No responsibilities.
Nothing. It's just, and I think that's the allure of prison to some people. It just gives you no responsibility. You go to sleep, you wake up.
Okay.
And you keep that cycle. So of course you're gonna stay looking young all the time when you just go to sleep and wake up and don't work hard at all for nothing.
But that wears off after a while, though.
After a while, it's just, human beings are made to be purposeful. What is your purpose in there? Getting up, going to a factory for 2 pennies?
I think we call it a sense of belonging.
And it's not that, because you can find that there too. There's some people that are very comfortable in prisons, actually more comfortable in prison than they could be out there, you know, he's institutionalized and all that. But the fact is, we're human beings. We're made to be purposeful.
But SEG is a different experience than most people prison experience, because when you're in Act SEG and you segregated, you're there alone all day until they let you come out and shower, maybe an hour of rec, right?
Yeah, that's it. But you got inmates around, so they talk to each other. I wasn't into the yelling stuff. I'm not like a loud person. So I would just read books. I think I read over 1,000 books in those solitary confinement situations, because that's all you have. But the thing about that, learning, people don't understand, like, if you pick up a book, and you keep reading books, especially about real biography books, like real people, or real like health-wise book or mental health-wise books, you start realizing that there's people out there that's been going through the same thing you did, and they got out.
Right.
And then I was like, wow, when I was in upstate, in solitary confinement, after years, I'm like, what's wrong with me? That was the first time in my life I asked myself that. And that day I realized, you know what? I don't want to be this. This can't be my life. And from that day on, I studied everything I could, because I was in the cell, so all I could do is read. I started yoga, Buddhism, Osirianism, everything. Osirianism, you know about that, the Egyptian.
No, I don't know.
My middle name is Osiris, by the way, so it was a curious name given by my dad, because if you look at the mythology of Osiris, is just a man fall victim to evil, and then he becomes evil and becomes the sun, knowledge. So it's but not symbolic in it to becoming as a person and falling and coming back to grace. So I love that name. And I read and I studied it, and it was a real religion with the 7 chakras. I'm pretty sure you know the chakras. If they practice that, the mastering of yourself, that's pretty much what it is. And you know, just enlightened being. Like, and I wanted to be that. Like that captured my mind so bad, because I always lived in the dark. I was like, I want to be an enlightened being. How wonderful would that feel? I was wondering how
that's a powerful statement. I want to be an enlightened being. I like that. So
I hope you do.
Through your reading, you enlightened yourself. You opened up your horizons. You expanded your mind, right?
Yeah, and through prison, sadly, it gave me something I never had before: imagination.
Oh, imagination. Wow.
Because I would never believe in anything that wasn't in front of me anymore. And then, you know, if you want to be like some kind of creator in this life, whether some good or bad, you have an imagination.
You do.
Just got to point it in the right direction.
Were you able to do that?
Oh yeah, and no, because it was. Let me say, you know, I always say this: be careful the road you walk, because sometimes you got to walk back to that point where you went that way, when you made the wrong turn, and get the right track. But you forget you got to pass everything that you did wrong on the way back.
So they say, is that what life is full circle? Sometimes? Something like this we're saying.
So tell me about that. Tell us more about that, if you can. I mean, if you can you talk about, you know, why you have to go back to go forward?
See, because I believe in something called karma. And karma could be a subconscious thing. It's just things you know you weren't supposed to do that you did. Maybe you buried them, but they're there.
Right.
Because if you believe in God, you believe in the conscience.
Right.
God speaks to the subconscious, which is the spirit, the Holy Spirit, or Himself, or Jesus, whatever.
Right.
But if you know you destroyed somebody's life or made a ripple effect that's going to, their whole life is going to actually affect them, that doesn't go away that easily, and you know something bad going to happen. And I knew something bad was going to happen to me, and it did. But again, that turned a tragedy into a triumph, which was hard. But that's all we can do in this world when life comes at us, try to turn tragedy into triumphs.
That's true.
Can I try to, because I'm listening to you, but I'm trying to induce some interpretation.
Okay.
So it sounds like what you described is full circle karma, that even though all those things in your past were behind you, some retribution
had to come
from what had happened.
Yeah.
And it's unavoidable in life.
It's not.
Like,
you're not going to avoid it.
Everybody has to pay for the wrongs in some type of way.
You got to balance your energy, man.
I like that.
Balance
I believe
your energy.
That. I like
so
that.
Tell me, can you share what happened, or give us like a little preview of how you had to go through it?
And
like what happened? Like what what happened that you had to go through that you said this is karma?
Oh, every little thing. Every little thing I've done to a person's been done to me.
Okay.
And I used to be like, wow, that's how it felt. But I learned karma wasn't trying to teach me nothing bad, but trying to teach me the other side of the coin, what I caused.
What you caused in people.
And that's what made me change more and more and more. I'm like, this is what I was spreading my whole life. Sorry, God.
Wow.
That's profound.
Yeah, that is very profound.
Because you don't know how
Did you find it out in prison, or did you have to go through your karma outside?
Prison, or everything. Nothing went good for me.
Right,
You know how some people say, I went to jail, it was easy, bro, chilling. No. Since I did what I did last when I was 17, the first day I got in a fight with the sheriffs, I didn't even get arraignment. I got into a big fight with the sheriffs, a fist fight in downstairs. From that point
In New
to
York?
the day in New York, when I was going to Suffolk courts for that, and I got into a fight with sheriffs because it was just I was like that person, and from that day on all the way to the day I left that prison, go upstate, I was in cuffs and shackles. So none of it was easy, none of it was fun, and if people think that it can be fun, then there's something wrong.
Did you used to pop off to the police office?
Oh no,
that what set them off.
No, see, I was the kind of guy that I'm like a ticking bomb. That's why I used to be a ticking bomb. I used to not say a word to nobody. I used to bother nobody. Do me. As soon as you bother me, why you bother me?
Do it, huh? You just do it.
And it's like it was just an automatic reaction of how I lived my life. It wasn't should I hit this guy? No. As soon as I saw violence, I answer with violence. That's it. That was the only. It wasn't let's sit
But let
down
me
and
ask you
talk
this:
about
how old were you when you got out? You went in at 17. How old were you when you got the 7 years?
Like 24 and a half. Like 24, 27. Yeah, 24.
Okay, so you had to do the whole 7.
No, yeah, pretty much.
So did you have to go back, or were you done?
No, I had 1 year on parole.
But have you been in trouble since then? I mean, have you had to go back to prison since then?
It was a DWI, but I was like years ahead, and the only reason the lawyer said no, you've been
Was it DWI here, or?
It was in Long Island, New York, but it was like the judge didn't want to hear it. The judge was like, yo, you sitting here doing stupid stuff after what you've been through, and you lucky you ain't over there for 30 years? I'm taking that deal away because I was supposed to do community service.
So he made you go to jail for that?
90 days, and those was not easy too, because I was in there disabled at this point from my car accident in 2005, which I died, by the way, that day.
Yeah, Vivian, let me tell you about the car accident.
Talk about karma. December 20th, November 20th. This is
before the DWI or after?
This is after. And this wasn't no DWI. This was a black ice accident. So that was God.
Yeah, that black ice it's cold blooded.
It did, because it took my life. But the thing is funny, because like I feel like, wow, my whole life people been trying to take my life, and this is how it ended. Technically, supposedly it ended if it wasn't for God's intervention.
Tell us about that black ice accident.
Oh, okay. I was coming home. I had my lady at the time, and we was both coming from work, and me being a little speed demon, I had my little A4 Audi, going fast, just not thinking, and not going too fast, but it was a little moderate. Then we hit black ice right at the corner from my mother's house. She had invited us to go to dinner, and right then it just got out of control. The car spun.
It was a one-car accident.
Yeah, actually the car, I hit another car so hard that his whole bumper was in like his back seat. I mean, his whole trunk was in his back seat. I took down 2 light poles, started one in the block, ended up at the last on the block. Somehow in the tumbling, the steering wheel right through my stomach. It cracked my spinal cord.
Steering wheel went through your stomach? Oh my God.
It cracked my lower spinal cord, destroyed my pelvises into pieces, and kind of like cheese grated everything into my chest.
Wow.
So how I lived, how I was alive, I don't know.
What about your lady? Did she live?
Yeah, she just walked out the thing. She got out the car, went into my house, like, yo, he's dead. Went right to my mom. I think he dead. And it was crazy because mom said before, my family, they ran, because it was right at the corner of their house when it happened, and where the car landed. And all our neighbors knew me, oh my God, and so technically I was dead. And when it dislodged me from the steering wheel, I died instantly. And then the paramedic, I was blessed enough to speak to him after I revived, or coma and everything like that, and he told me, you just kept pulsing like you was trying to breathe, but you couldn't. So this is why I got this. He saved my life. It's a trait. So he said he put a hole there, and a bunch of blood came out, but then I started breathing again.
Wow.
So they took me to the hospital, and it's like the worst hospital at the time. It's a better hospital now, but at that time it was called Death Hospital because you go there, you could be there and they're gonna wait for your insurance to get cleared, and one of those hospitals. So they said they have no choice to take them to the closest one. So they went to the worst hospital, technically, by category. But the funny thing, the miracle was that they had the convention in that auditorium for them that night for all the specialists, top specialists in the nation. And my doctor went down there. He said, I don't know what to do. So I interrupt, I don't know what to do. Can anybody come help me? And a couple of doctors went up there, and after 8 major surgeries and 2 weeks.
They just kind of volunteered.
They just went up there, because that's the decree, we got to help when we need it. So, and there was this particular doctor, his name was Parker, I can't remember his first name, it was an Asian character, Parker, but that guy, he just didn't stop. He was supposed to leave like 2 nights, he stayed the whole 2 weeks there to make sure I woke up.
Wow.
And he even came back to make sure I woke up from my coma.
Wow.
So I had a guardian angel for like 2.5 months.
You were in a coma for 2.5 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You did have a guardian angel.
And yeah, it was, and then.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like 24, about 25, turning 25.
So you hadn't been out of prison that long?
No, I hadn't even been a year. I just finished parole a month ago. You know how disappointed I was?
But you did get a job, though. That's good news.
I had a job. I got a job like the second day I was home.
Doing what?
Steel work.
Okay.
Because I was so big. I know all I did was work out for 7 years.
But you're pretty big still.
In a good way, I hope.
Yeah, no, in a good way. You're not fat or anything. You can tell you.
But thank
muscly.
you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was like really quick. The job. That's why I don't like those excuses. Oh, we can't get. No, you don't want a job. Seriously. Like, I learned something in life that when you want something, you're gonna do whatever it takes to get it. And if anything else, it's just an excuse.
Right.
So I had to stop making, and I know both sides of that coin because I used to make excuse for everything. Now I don't, because I know I'm the only excuse there is.
2.5 months in a coma. Wow. So how long did it take for you to walk again? Because when you bust your pelvic up, that takes about a year. That takes about a year to recover.
I didn't. They told me I was paralyzed for life. That was my diagnosis.
Wow.
And they gave me a wheelchair to go home with, but I never used it. And I kept falling in the hospital because I would not use it, and I would not give me a walker because I'm walking out of here. And they sent me to a psychiatrist. They thought I was going crazy. And I was like, no, I just don't believe this is going to be my life. And I really didn't. And I would.
But it still took you about a year for that pelvic to fix.
No, it's 18 years in recovery right now, and I still can't feel all my legs.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because I've known somebody to get their pelvic done, and she went in a wheelchair. She was a young woman. She did the wheelchair for a year. She did everything they told her, and a year after that, she could walk. But she did everything they said. But she did a wheelchair for 1 year.
The funny thing is, I still have my original pelvis. They was going to transplant it, give me a different one, but they said for some reason it's staying there, and it's not. It's staying there. So let's just leave it alone. And since
Didn't have to put no screws in it or anything?
They had to put screws to hold me together in preliminary, but they took those screws out when they started.
Everything drew together.
Fine. Yeah,
I think, are bones something that can grow back?
Yes,
I think
they
bones
fuse
can grow
together
back.
after a while.
They fuse.
Yeah.
And you know what they're doing now is putting cadaver bones or skins inside people's backs now to help it grow around bones.
Like,
they're doing that now.
Like a replant or something.
Yeah, they're doing that now.
Hey, science is.
Yeah, that's pretty new.
That's some Frankenstein stuff right there.
But I have I'm at the age where a lot of, athletic girls my age, ladies, are having, back problems and having back surgeries, which people used to never do.
They don't.
But they're doing it now because they're putting cadaver pieces in there.
We're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's for it to grow around the bone or something. There's something going on. I don't know exactly, but there's something going on with that.
Yeah.
They're not doing the screws as much. They're fusing it, but then they're putting that cadaver in there.
Everybody's fighting to live longer. That's all it is. That's the whole game here, I think, to live
So
longer.
you still are in pain?
Yeah,
to
right
this
now
day?
I'm feeling pain. I was just talking to him about earlier that since the day I've gotten into accident and woke up, I feel pain to today.
Wow.
So I deal with that.
So what have you done to keep from getting addicted to painkillers? Just taking it?
Nah, the thing is, I think that the doctor kind of like saved me from that. 'Cause he said the more pain you feel, the more alive you're gonna be. And so I allow it.
The
It's
more
part of
pain
the
you
process.
feel, the more alive you'll be. Okay, I can see that.
Like the nerves.
Yeah, your nerves are hurting. They're
hurting,
there.
They want to feel and they
Yeah.
want to grow and they want to reach out. So as long as you're feeling pain, you're good.
How long was it from you left the hospital and couldn't walk before you were able to walk again?
At least say by myself without the braces
Yeah.
to stand up by like 12, 13 years.
12, 13 years.
You had to have braces for 12 or 13 years? Wow.
I went to school like that. I went to everything because I had to remake myself.
12 or 13 years on those braces.
But I look like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Those kind of braces. It was plastic, but I had to put them on every day, every morning, which was annoying. But once you get used to it, you got to go on, no matter what. Life
But you
is
did
not
that
gonna
to
stop.
prevent from using a wheelchair.
I did not want to use a wheelchair. I was supposed to use the wheelchair those whole years, but I told him I would not sit down, and I refused.
So when did you take the braces off? When did you stop using the braces?
Oh, we're talking about maybe like 2016, 15.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
It
That's a
wasn't
long
really-
time.
it was a while.
So you
So I
only
see why you.
5
I
years.
see now why you say karma.
No, I'm talking about it was
The
more.
braces.
Yeah.
But you're talking about. I see why you're saying karma.
The thing is the thing why with the wheelchair, I didn't even get mad like that, because they told me if the individual would have lived, he would have been in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I was like, oh, okay,
Who
it
is
made
that?
sense to me.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Not to tell his story, but when he came to Path of Freedom, because Path of Freedom is a faith-based
Right.
group, so we're allowed to talk about
Sure.
Christian values and things that happen in Christianity. And I remember him being specific that it's cliche. They say God will sit you down, but he's saying God
We'll sit you down.
literally
Literally sat him
set
down.
him down. And he said, so all those years he couldn't walk and was forced to maneuver like that, he, all he used the term spiritualized it, but he started making connections, like he was talking about full circle, and now I'm not a victim, it's a kind of a product of my life. It's playing out. Everything's working together for the good.
Well,
And I'm not trying to tell you a story, but that's kind of how you.
No, it got to the point because you always want better, but life learns how to beat you down every time. Like, yeah, I'm gonna walk, but after like 9 months of not walking, you start getting depressed.
Yes.
What's gonna keep you up? So yeah, I to tell you it was a perfect road to recover. No. I want to get into details with you, but I don't want to go too far because I lived and.
You can give me details.
Okay, so 2 weeks after I got out the hospital, I started selling drugs. So I don't have to ask nobody for money.
Oh wow. So
And I never sold
handicap. So handicap.
In a wheelchair.
Because earlier you said you never sold drugs.
I never got caught.
I see.
See, that's why I won't say something.
I see.
But the thing is that, so I asked somebody for money. It was simple.
Because I was wondering how you supported yourself.
Yeah,
handicap.
so that's how we go. Down the rabbit hole. Here we go.
So you did get in a wheelchair.
No.
Okay.
I
you sold drugs in a wheelchair.
It is because I was supposed to be in. I'm using the term
I
because
see,
I
just
wasn't
use the
walking
term.
around. I was in the corners and
Right,
I would just sit there. I ain't gonna tell you my.
Well, it's in New York. I mean, what's going to happen to you here?
nah.
The statute of limitations has run.
Cool. Oh,
Even
yeah.
in Texas, the statute of limitations for drugs is 3 years.
Oh, that's perfect.
But I don't know what it is in New York. It's not that long.
Nah,
It's not like
Don't
killing
shout nothing more
somebody.
than you did drugs.
we ain't gonna do that. We ain't
Just talk about
gonna
the drugs. Unless you went to prison for it. If you went to prison for it, you can talk about it. 'cause you're
Yeah, I've
already
been to prison
tried.
for it for nicks and dimes. They didn't catch for a lot. They come in, go out, then
You
I got to
wouldn't fight
bill
those
out.
cops no more like that,
Oh,
were
I
you?
was just fighting cops. Whenever
Huh?
they got too disrespectful, I fought like I had.
No, I'm talking about after you got hurt.
Yeah, I had another fight with them.
Oh my God, come on.
When they took me in for the DWI, I had a big old fight with them. I even got people. I tried to sue them because I was disabled, and they just being mean, and they just wanted to punk me, and I just didn't let them. I was like, I remember exactly why the cop beat me up because he said, "Why are you smiling?" I was like, "Sir, I've been through the toughest positions. I'm gonna smile in hell." He said, "Oh yeah," and he punched me in my stomach. And then,
Dang.
yeah. So,
And that was still in New York.
yeah, that was in New York. But like I said, fear is never really something that I really know been too clear on. Like, caution.
But anyway, so when you get out of the hospital after being in a coma for 2.5 months, and get on these braces and walkers, you start selling drugs.
Yeah.
To support yourself.
Yeah. And I was very lucrative because everybody knew me.
Right, but they can jump you because you can't move as fast.
Because I had friends.
Okay.
I was in my own place, And the thing is, like, again, confusing. People are like, oh my God, you don't stop. You're like Superman, and here, give me one, give me two, and then everybody, I was their favorite guy to go to.
Wow.
But they just couldn't believe I wouldn't stop.
So what stopped you?
Me, after a while, the way I was, I actually my mom.
Right. Is she still with us?
Yeah, she's still there. She's very Christian always, and she's
Still
definitely
alive.
the reason why those.
Did she ever remarry?
Yeah, she got remarried and it didn't work out after. But they lasted for a good. She's not like 3 years, like 15, 20 years.
Oh, okay,
so she's in it for the long haul when she get down, you know. But
yeah,
things happen. So
I know that.
And plus the guy, he must have been like, yo, this guy's crazy. Nah, it wasn't my fault, promise.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you said so you was selling dope, and you did that for a long time.
Yeah.
I got to get to how you got. I want to know more about that, but then I also want to know how you got to Houston.
I got to Houston. The first time I came out to Houston, to be honest with you, I made a mistake. I felt I had to leave, so I came out here.
But did you have relatives here?
I
What
had
made
one
you, out
uncle
of all the places in the whole country, why would you come here?
in Mexico.
Because it's close to Mexico? But
That was my logic.
But Houston's not that close to Mexico. Matamoros, I mean,
Close.
to get in Brownsville or somewhere like that.
Talking to a guy from New York. I hear Texas, Mexico right there. I don't know.
Oh, okay. You don't realize how big. You didn't realize how big Texas was.
All I know is things get worse. Go over there.
Okay, so
Hola,
It ain't that too far to go. You gotta get there, though.
now, yeah, if you're already in Texas, it's not that far to go. No, it's not that
But
far.
yeah, unfortunately, and I'm embarrassed to say, but yeah, that's the first time I came in Texas. But then, it's the first time I was an ordinary person.
And why did you feel ordinary here?
Because I didn't know everybody, and I had the access to do whatever I wanted to do. So.
And you were staying with an uncle?
No, I had for 1 month. I didn't like it. I left. I went to the apartment. But the thing is that I had to get away from who I was to become who I am.
Right. You had to get away.
I didn't know that then at that time, but that's what happened.
So how long did you stay the first time you came to
3
Houston? 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years I stayed. And
were you still in your recovery on your braces?
Yeah. No. My braces was gone by then.
Okay.
But I was walking, but I still had like dead foot. You know what dead foot? Like I was flapping my feet.
Right.
Still didn't have very much feeling there. So it's like work in progress. But the thing is, like I managed it so well. I always try to hide it from people. I never wanted people to know my story exactly.
Right.
Or take my disabilities for weakness.
Right.
Because I never really changed the kind of individuals I was around. It's just placing faces.
So you stayed here for 3 years, and then you went back. Why'd you go back?
Oh, my brother had a landscaping company he needed help with, so I went back there to help him, and I worked it with him. Okay. Even though my disabilities, I helped him. I worked it with him.
How long did you do that?
No, just 1 season. Then he wanted to sell it because I got another job. I actually went to school a couple years before, and I got my A+ certifications in technology. So I'm a computer technician as well. I've done database, and I started working for this Fortune 500 company. So I stayed for a long.
In New York?
Yeah.
In Long Island?
Yeah, I ended up buying a house later on, and cars and all that. I had everything that everybody.
So how long did you stay when you went back?
Till last year.
Wow. So that's what, about 5 years?
Yeah, stayed there for like 5 years, I would say. Yeah.
And then what made you come back?
Divorce.
Okay, so you got divorced up in Long Island.
Yeah.
So you say, I'm going to come back here.
No, I said it's got hard because over there it's like $2,800 just for mortgage. So.
Right.
And it was hard because the epidemic hit and all that stuff, and it just got really difficult for me. And I tell people there's no excuse because I was able to hold down my house working Taco Bell in the morning, McDonald's at night. And I have certification, I have so much experience in other things, but it was just so hard to get a job at that time. That was my only, and it was right there,
Close to your house.
Yeah, like not even 5 minutes, both. So I said, I'll save on this, just to get the house out. And I was having problems with my tenants and all that. So life got difficult, but I never gave up. I was trying to find a way to actually keep it together until things get better. Because they always get better, you just got to make sure you get through this rough storm first. That's all.
Right. So in coming here, how did you still got to start from scratch?
Yeah, but it's easy because I've always had to start from scratch. That's
Right.
the easy part.
Right. So how long have you been back?
For like 1.5 years now.
So how are you doing?
Actually, really good. I've been through jobs here and there, got technical jobs, but I actually like the job I do. It's forklift, but they pay very well and they got really good benefits.
So even though you have leg numbness, you can.
Oh,
still,
they know.
you
they
can
know.
feel with the forklift.
Oh yeah, I could drive. I've been driving. I was driving without my legs. I used to use a cane.
Oh wow.
I was.
You just weren't gonna be with this.
No, I'm not. No matter what I do, you're not gonna call me disabled. You're not gonna tell me I can't do what you do. That was just my state of mind, and nobody could stop me.
So to do forklift, don't you have to have a certificate for that?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay. When did you get that?
Well, I got that the first time I came to Texas, and I started learning how to be a regular person. That's what I call a regular person. Go to work
So
9 to 5.
9 to
And I
5.
liked it. It was
Oh, you liked it?
But I liked it because, you know what, I ain't going home. I ain't wondering who my friends are. I ain't looking who the enemies is trying to get me. None of that stuff. It was different. It was weird, strange, awkward at times.
How did your imagination play into that?
Not much.
Get your phone. Get your phone.
It's not much. Like the imagination is nothing. It's just what it is. It's like at that time I was just more logical. You just got to step by step get a job.
You think maturity has anything to do with it?
Nah, not me. Cause it's.
How old are you now?
I'm 45.
So what would you tell your younger self?
My younger self? That was
the 17-year-old.
17-year-old, you're crazy, man. You need to stop. Like, it's not gonna work out.
But at 17, would you listen?
I'd be like, nah. You know what it is? At 17, it was just I had such a. I don't know if I was suicidal. I just didn't care.
Right.
Did not care about anything, you know, like after, because you know how your son and your daughter, they always got a more, the parent is closer to one than the other.
Right.
I was like that with my dad. So
right. So that
when he was gone.
Oh yeah, that was the problem.
It was like I couldn't connect with my moms like that.
Do you have any children?
No.
Okay.
I promised myself I wouldn't have children until I could get my life right.
Is that how you got to do it? Just promise yourself?
Yeah, What does sex have to do with it? Okay.
Oh, nah, because I'm a very controlled person in that. I'm not, I'm not, I don't lose senses.
Not trying to make no babies.
No.
Not trying to make any babies.
But
45, you still got a lot of
I got
good
time, and I
to-
think I'm in the perfect age.
Yeah, you are a perfect age.
I was about to do some promoting.
I'm perfect age. I look good. I still got muscles. I can still walk. I can still move. I can still walk.
I got my feeling back, baby.
I'm still good. I'm still good. He looks good, ladies. He looks good.
That's funny.
Anyway, yeah, okay. So you came here. You're doing the forklift thing. So do you get to talk to your uncle at all?
Oh, nah. I don't really talk to many people. I just call the most person that gets my conversation is like, not just like right now.
But you got some friends here.
Oh, yeah.
And what made you come to our church? What made you come to St. John's?
Your church. That was a good one because it's a friend of mine. Her name was Josiah. She was actually roommating with me. She needed a little help. I helped her out. You know, we did good. She got her things together as well. She has a story to tell one day. Maybe y'all have her on the show.
How do you know her?
I knew her because she had through somebody else met her. She was going through a rough time, and I thought she was a good person.
And you helped her out?
Helped her out, and she did her own thing. Like she got her job like near the house and everything. So it was like, I don't want to talk about her situation.
Right. But that
just needed help.
But through her, you learned about our church.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, I told her, because the first day I met her, I said, I'm going to church. And, maybe we'll talk later or whatever. And she's like, oh, well, you like church? And then we talked and stuff like that, friendship. And she told me that, I got this church where Beyonce used to go. That's the famous line, I guess, of Beyonce's church.
Right.
So I was like, all right, let's go. Why not? I took her to my aunt's church. She's not really my aunt, but I know her for so long. That's my aunt. And she's got one in Bissonnette somewhere. She has a church there, so I took her there too. And she took me to the St. John's Church.
Okay.
And my family church is Hispanic, of course. And her church is English. So I started going more to St. John's. And I just like the fact the way they embrace people.
Right.
They embrace people. And what drew me really to St. John is the community work. Because I've always wanted to do community work. Like I said, karma, balance. You know what I mean?
Right. Gotta give it back now.
And the thing is that with karma and balance, you got to be careful because when you try to help people, I started realizing you can't get involved with their life.
Right.
Because then that's going to become a whole new set of karmatic laws that you're going to have to pay because there's going to be problems in there if a person's situation. So I learned to be of service. Help people, you know what I mean, in your heart, you know what I'm saying, and let God do the rest for them because we're only human and we got to protect ourselves first. And sometimes in helping other people, we lose ourselves in that path, So I'm learning that you want to be of service, help people, but don't give everything you have. That's only to God.
Set some boundaries.
Yeah, that's exactly the word. Set boundaries.
Set boundaries. So I see you brought your Bible with you?
Oh, yeah. I'm learning to carry it around because, like when I got nothing to do, I'll read it. And when I really want to, I'll read it. I have it in my car. I brought it here, the occasion, but
Right.
I like to read it because I like Psalms a lot. I always read Psalms because it gives me something to think about, So
volunteering your extra time to come to the church to work with Path to Freedom, I know it's just a new experience for you, but I appreciate you trying to do that because we just started coming back to the church.
Right. And we had
from the pandemic.
So we had a community fair at the church So after service, each ministry had a booth set up.
Yeah, I was out of town that weekend.
Right.
I wasn't there, yeah.
And so he came by the Path of Freedom booth, and of course, me being, all in, passionate about what we do, he had a story. And I guess what we were doing fit what he had experienced, and I'm not trying to talk to him, but that lived experience, that shared experience of being incarcerated, but not incarcerated, but want to do something about how to use that
To help others.
that energy that I put into that lifestyle and turn it into something positive. Because the energy didn't go away, it's just redirected.
Right.
And people are like, well, how do you give so much to this? Well, you really don't understand. I'm giving a quarter to this. I gave 100% to that lifestyle.
Right.
I'm not even all full throttle here.
Right.
You should have saw me when I was
Full throttle in the criminal life.
lifestyle.
Right.
I used to sit in this chair and meditate on what I was going to do wrong to come up with money.
Right.
A meditation chair to think about, so I had to plan out these crimes in my head.
Damn.
Because I didn't want to get away. I'm using my intelligence in a way to commit crimes in the best, perfect way I can.
So you won't get caught.
So I won't get caught. So I'm going over these scenarios in my mind of how to execute, but most importantly, how do I get out of the trap zone?
Get the money and get out.
Because they trap you in there.
Right,
So
of
you got to
course.
get in and get out before they set up the web. So I would go out and do recon on 2 escape routes to get away.
And no little voice in your head whispered to you and said,
My addiction is driving that.
your addiction has gotten you so mad, so crazy, that no little,
I'm focused.
no little godly
I'm
voice.
committed.
All right. Well, I'm so glad you got off that dope.
I'm
dope-
focused.
that dope
You talk
is-
about how all the things I went
and
through, it's the same energy. It's just the same energy.
The funny thing to me is people talk about a job is hard. That sounds very involved and complicated.
That sounds
to me.
hard. That sounds complicated.
I'm I'd rather go to work and go just bang it
I
out
gotta
real quick. I'll be
change
back
the
at 2.
clothes.
That's
Right,
it.
right. See, it sounds like a lot of yours was anger from your father dying, so that made you want to fight. So your stuff seems like it was more spontaneous.
Yeah,
yours was more spontaneous.
I tell people my addiction is never the physical things. The physical things is just the manifestation of what's happening in here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when I'm happy, I don't need to drink or smoke or nothing like that. And when I'm good, you know what I'm saying? But when you get depressed, start thinking about your past. That's why it's so important just to let it go sometimes,
Right.
Just to give it up. You can't do nothing about it.
You
Why let it drag you down now? It's just a sickness or just a weakness that you need to get over, because whatever you do today will not change yesterday, but it can change tomorrow.
Can't change tomorrow. And I bet you know a lot of people that died in those streets.
Oh yeah,
Died in prison.
many, and it's sad because they're gone, but there's people here left that they got to deal with all that.
Right. Just
You
like
know?
you had to.
And the thing is, like I told you, I changed mainly because of my mother. She's a good mom. Struggled all her life, tried to give us the right thing, the right perception, the right belief,
Values,
values, principles, all that. And she's getting older, and I see her fading. And you will not understand compassion until you see your mother or your parents fading away. You'll understand that everything you do is going to affect them at this point, to make them stay a little bit longer or go a little bit faster.
Right.
So all I'm trying to do is make her proud before she leaves.
So you have a brother. Do you have a sister?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is your sister okay?
Just fine.
Okay.
She's very good. I mean, like I said, I was the only one that turned.
Were you the oldest?
No, middle child. You know how we get lost.
The middle one gets lost.
You don't
So
get
did your
lost.
brother get angry like you?
I was telling him, I'm a perfect example of that. 2 people raised in the same place
Totally
turn
different.
out totally different lives. My brother is more than good, believe me. He owns properties here in other countries and states, and he's good. The guy is a smart, intelligent man. I think he'd freak out if he gets a car ticket. Oh my God! Like, life is over for the man. If he just can't sleep for 3 days,
Wow.
it bothers him.
Wow.
My mother get more tickets than that man.
So y'all totally different.
night and
Love
day.
each other, but totally love each other.
It's funny because it's like any family, cats and dogs. But if you touch them or you violate my family, but you know, family, but it's love. It's like it's love because that's all we had all our life.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Well,
crazy.
we're getting to the end of this, and we got 2 minutes, so we can round table this out. But I want to say before we round table it out, and everybody can have a little something to say. I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
For coming through it on this side. You still got a journey to go at 45, but just keep moving. You're on the right track. You're on the right track, brother. And you're really on the right track by hanging out with somebody like him, because he's older and wiser, been there, done that, could write the book. Hadn't had time to write the book because he's too busy trying to do the right thing. But he has made amends in many, many ways, and ways that I'm sure he'll share with you as
we grow
through your path to freedom.
Yeah.
So, Danny, what you want to say?
So I just want to share some news I got in the mail, and I need a minute. It said, "Dear Mr. Sneed, although you have been through a lot of struggles in your life, we see that you spent 15 years in prison. You struggled. We want you to know." This is a Social Security statement. Say, though you have been through a lot, we want you to know.
Social Security didn't put all that in there. They didn't put no 15 years in the penitentiary.
Can I read?
Okay.
You have earned enough credits to qualify for retirement benefits.
There you go.
Go, Daddy!
There you go.
So after all that you've been through, you qualify for benefits. You've earned 4 credits a year. And at the age of 67, based on your date of birth, you can start earning your benefits anytime between the ages of 62 and 70. The reason I'm saying this is significant is when I got out of prison in 2008, the first thing I did was took a job at the car wash, making $9 an hour. But see, I understood not how much I made, that I need to be on the radar. I understood that they take out Social Security and that you have
They did that at the car wash?
You get a check, every check you
Okay,
get.
some car washes are kind of cash.
I was a little, no,
you did a big car wash, a big one.
And I try to tell my anybody that comes in, it's okay to work under the table. I don't want to work conventional jobs. But you're gonna get
old.
If you blessed enough, you're not gonna die. You're gonna live.
Right.
If you die, you may escape.
Right.
Getting old.
Right.
But if you don't die, you're gonna get old.
Right.
And if you get old and you hadn't worked and paid into the system, and you can't work, there's no check coming to your mailbox unless you have worked and earned. And despite all those 15 years I spent in prison and chasing all that, I did understand that with a clear mind and focus, man, I'm gonna go to work.
All right, well, we're gonna continue this next time. Do you want to say anything to young people? Look at them about not to do what you did.
I just say think twice, man. Life is precious and it's vulnerable. As strong as you may feel, it can happen to you or anybody that you know. So I would give you and anybody the same advice. Look for the good things in life. The bad things lead you nowhere.
All righty. That's the word for the night. The bad things lead you nowhere. So thank you so much, Johan, for being our guest tonight. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Danny, for being our co-host and making sure
Proud of you, man.
Johan got here tonight and told us his fabulous story, very fascinating story about redemption. He's on the right road. Thank you all for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. See you next time. Good night.
Good job.